Yo guys, it's JJ here, and today I'm going to be walking you through a unique beat, just like in the style of ATL Jacob. But before we get into the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We are about to hit 1.7k subs, and I'm really aiming for that 2k sub mark because the support's really been going crazy. I deeply appreciate it, and obviously this wouldn't be happening with all of you guys. But to show some love back, I've got a bunch of free drum kits in the description, and to get the latest one, you can find it in my IG as well, which is down below in the description. But the last thing I want to note as well is, like, this is a unique beat, I'll be honest, it's a bit more of a complex tutorial, hopefully it doesn't get too long in the end, but I really hope you enjoyed this video, and now let's just dive in. The first thing to note is I'm doing this at 144 BPM and I'm starting off in a scale of B minor, but this does change later on. And for the first plugin, we're using Analog Lab 5 with a preset called Digital Whales, which is just a pad I found really. That's how you get these nice little cool unique sounds. And then looking at the pattern, it is very simple. All I did was kind of play like a minor chord, as you can see with this D here, but I remove it, leaving us with that B and that F sharp. And what I did was go onto the playlist, I right clicked the sound over here, then going into Quick Render's audio clip. Then once that is done, as you can see over here, I drag it into the playlist, I double clicked it, and then all I did is go into the mode, like stretch, so if I ever change the BPM it doesn't mess up. Then click declicking mode and change it to generic, so when I play them back to back you don't hear like a little pop sound. And then last but not least, I pitched it up 3 semitones as well, just because I thought it sounded much nicer. Then going back into the playlist, I control and left click this over here so it highlights red, click control B 1, 2, 3 times, and as you can see we have now got an 8 bar. But then the final thing I actually did is I highlighted all of them, zoomed in, and then clicked over here and then pulled it in just a tiny bit so it removes the popping sounds. And all I do is delete this, and there we have it for the main melody. And without further ado, this is what it sounds like. As for the mix, all I did was get an EQ cutting off all my lows. Then I got an instance of Soothe 2 and left it on the default preset just to act as a compressor. And last but not least, I stereo separated it around 30% just because I thought the sound sounded a bit better when you widen it out within the headphones. And yes, I did not add any reverb or delay or anything to the sound. I thought it gave it a very nice, like, unique kind of, how would you call it, industrial vibe, just because no reverb gives it kind of like a random chop off in the end. It gives it that unique flavor. And next up, I got myself an instance of Analog Lab 5 again, but I'm using a different preset called the Pure Electricity, and this is another pad that I just randomly found. And looking at the pattern, it is very simple, but bear in mind we have moved 3 semitones up, so we're working in that D minor now. And all I did is play the same chord progression that we had in the original pattern, and then for the second half, as you can see over here, it's a normal triad, but then I just take the middle notes up a whole octave. So as you can see, it's just about using these same notes to give that dark unique vibe, and sometimes just inverting a few notes like how I did with this F, change it up a bit. And that's really it for the pattern. So this is what the pad sounds like. As for the effects, I first of all got myself an EQ again, cutting off all my lows and ducking some of the highs. Then I used this super dope plugin. It's really good for unique beats and it's completely free. It's called Backmask. I really recommend getting it. Just Google it, get it. It's very, very good. And all this does is it acts as like a little weird reverse technique thing. I don't know how to explain it, but it's fire. Then I got an instance of Portal, and I'm using a thing called the Stutter Butter preset just to add a bit of a glitchy vibe to it. And of course, you can hear with your headphones or through your speakers. I got an instance of Shaperbox 2, and then just pan the sound left and right just to give a melody a bit more movement. And last but not least, in terms of plugins, I've got myself a Valhalla Vintage Verb, using a nice little bit of reverb with this preset that I made, as you can see, just to make it a bit more wet. And again, in terms of stereo separation, same as the previous melody, I did it around 30%, keeping it wide within your headphones so it has a nice little bit of movement. And next up, I got myself another instance of Analog Lab 5. I should really get sponsored by these people, but oh well. And the preset I am using is a Source Bass, again found in the Max Shooter Artillery Bank. Super dope sounds. And Max Shooter, if you're watching this, know I want to work with you, bruh, so hit me up. And as you can see, very simple bass pattern, have it playing every 4 bar, and I cut it at the very end just because I feel like it adds a bit of tension to the whole vibe, and you'll hear what I mean right now. And next up we got ourselves a little bell. This comes straight from my kit in the perk section, so you know, go grab it for free in my Instagram. But simply put, following that root note of D, placing it every 4 bar for a bit of, you know, retention, making it sound darker. And instead of playing it on D5, I took it down to a D4, just makes it sound a bit darker again. So that's why I did that. And this is what the bell sounds like. And now for the final sound within the sample, we have got ourselves another instance of Analog Lab 5, the 4th instance in this video, and I am using a preset called the Claviglock. I think it's a key preset that I found this again just randomly, and with all of these sounds, or whenever you're making unique beats, just bear in mind, you can bump into sounds, explore, widen your horizon, and that's how you really evolve your sound and get these unique kind of vibes. But moving to the pattern, I make this really weird pattern, so you can see I start off with a D, bump it all the way to an A, but as you can see I took it up an octave, then place another A, place an E, and get these two notes on top of each other at the same time, back into the E, into an F with a D, and then back into an A. And all I did was copy and paste this 4 more times to make a full 4 bar. And then this pattern down here is the exact same, but just in an octave lower. And to be honest with you guys, when I made this pattern, I can't really break down what went through my mental process. It's just I laid notes that thought sounded good together. But one thing I can tell you for sure, if I highlight this note, these notes, all these highlighted notes, oh, and even these notes, all these notes are part of the scale where they're 1 semitone apart, giving it a very nice dark vibe. And that's how you can evolve that unique sound and that dark sound that ATL Jacob brings to the table. And before I play the melody, the last thing I did was click Alt R, as you can see, just to randomize the velocities, giving it a bit more of a human touch, making it less robotic. And whenever I play this melody in the beat, just bear in mind I removed the first original sample and have this kick in just for a bit of variation. And looking into the effects, all I did was get an EQ cutting off all my lows, ducking some highs and lows again over here. Then I used some RC20 just to give it a bit more of a vintage detuned sound, and some more of a hollow vintage verb, but I didn't want to drown it in reverb just because I wanted the sound to be a bit more in the forefront. And of course, I stereo separated at 25% just because I like to do it, because why not? So now, without further ado, this is what a sample in the style of ATL Jacob making some unique beats sounds like. And there we have it. But now it's time to move on to the drums, and just bear in mind all these drum sounds are from my kit. Go grab it again for free. So to start this pattern off, we've got ourselves a nice little snare called the Too Good snare, because I think it's just super hard, and it's a very basic pattern apart from those 2 green notes here that repeat every 4 bar, just for a bit of variation. And now we're onto the hi-hats. I'm using a brazy hat because these are really good hi-hats for rolls, and as the name suggests, it's a brazy hat used for brazy rolls. As you can see, this pattern pretty much repeats itself every little 2 bar, but I vary up a bit for the second 2 bar, which is the end of the 4 bar, which then, you know, turns into a full 8 when I copy and paste it over, yada yada yada. But let me just break down the 2 bar so you can see what I did. So looking in at this nice little 2 bar over here, I have myself a nice little pattern going on, but then I place these 2 notes at a much lower octave, as you can see in the F3, just because it gives it a nice little kind of like ATL sound, a nice little kind of like Tron vibe, if you know what I mean. But then to get this little roll going, I go into my magnet tool, click onto quarter step, click this little paintbrush, and then I just draw these in, and then I click a note and then just draw them in. But the way I get this nice little pattern is if you click shift and then add a roll, as you can see, it just places the notes wherever you want. So that's how you get these really cool rolls. And then the final thing I did was I highlighted this whole thing, right? And then looking down here at the velocity tab, if you right click the top note and then play with the rest of them, as you can see, it adjusts the little like volume, and that's how I get this nice little like fade away roll. And down here I added a nice little half step roll. Because it's such a low octave, I dug the velocity down a bit just so it's not too loud. And over here I placed myself like a nice little step roll, as you can see, but just have like a nice little one in the middle here. Then I get myself another half step roll going, and then I place this note down a few pitches just for a bit of variation. And then the only real difference between this pattern and this pattern over here is like I changed this roll and this roll. As you can see, I just added an extra note. Instead of having this roll going here, I add this roll instead, and then instead of having this roll here, which is a half step roll, I put a quarter roll, and then I just add these notes because I thought they sound good. This is the same as here. This roll replaces this note down, and I obviously place this roll as well to complement this roll here. So as I just said, it's essentially just 2 bar repeat over, but I just changed the rolls a tiny bit just to give it a bit more variation. And then to wrap it up, I right click up here, drag it, and then copy and paste it for a full 8. And with all that being said, this is what the snare and the hi-hat sound like. And there we have it. As you can hear, super dope hi-hats just like ATL, nice little snare pattern. But now it's time to move on to the 808s. And looking at this bad boy, it's a very, very simple pattern. And the reason I kept it quite simple is because the hi-hats already go crazy, the melody has a lot going on, so I thought let me just leave the 808s a bit. And to break down the pattern, it's essentially this little 2-bar that I made, looped over yet again, then looped over again. However, instead of having this note down here, I obviously highlighted it, click Control and then the up arrow, taking it up a whole octave, and then placed the same pattern yet again. As for the kick, pretty simple. I copy and pasted the 808 pattern, kept it at that root note of C. But then, one thing I like to do to my 808 and my kicks, and I repeat this in every video, is if you click Control A, highlighting all your notes, pick up your mouse, hold that scroll wheel down, and as you can see, if you push it to the top, it maxes your velocities out. And the reason I do this is because number one, it makes your 808 and your kicks so much punchier, gives you that ATL sound, that trap sound that you're really going for. And number two, which kind of goes off number one, is if you have punchier drums, it's more appealing to artists, and hopefully you can get a placement with that advice. So with that being said, this is what the 808 and the kicks sound like. And now for the final components of the drums, I have two different open hats. One is this nice little hiss hat, and it repeats at the start of every 2-bar, just to add a bit of a oomph onto those drums. Then I got myself a nice little reversed open hat from the drum kit as well. Repeats itself every 2 bars, you can see over here. And now, with all that being said, this is what a unique beat like ATL Jacob sounds like. But now guys, it's time to walk you through the beat structure, and to start this off, we're going to walk you through the intro, which is highlighted over here. It's a 2 8-bar intro, making it 16 bars. But what I did was start off with that nice little reverse kind of rising pad, and I've got a bass alongside it with the bell. And then coming into the second part of the intro, I just introduced the hi-hats and my tag just to show that it's about to drop. As for the chorus, I instantly switched into that nice melody, which has that nice little bounce with the higher and lower octave. So that's what I've got going on here with the bell. And I've got all of these drums playing apart from that reverse open hat. And then for the second 8-bar, I introduced that nice kind of like arp thing that was going around left and right in the panning alongside that reverse open hat, just to add a bit more oomph to the second half of the chorus. And now leading into the verse, looking at the first 8-bar, I just have myself this nice little reverse pad, of course, that main sample with these essential drums just playing, which is that 808, snare, and hi-hats. But then for the second 8-bar, I have the bell coming in just to add a bit more of a dramatic push, alongside that reverse open hat, and that kick to add a bit more of a punch. And then for the final 8-bar within the verse, which is also known as the pre-hook or the pre-chorus, all I do is start fading away that main sample of that reverse pad, reintroduce the other sample, which is that nice kind of plucky melody, and then I have the bass and the bell playing with it, and no drums at all, just to signify that we're about to go back into the chorus and have a nice little beat drop. And as you can see, I copy and pasted the same chorus yet again, just 2 more times, making it 3 choruses. And as you can see over here, got the same verse playing again, making it a total of an intro, 2 verses, and 3 choruses. And there you have it, guys. You've made it to the end of the video. I really hope you got something out of this. Thank you very much for watching. All the support is deeply appreciated, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.